The Romance of the Three Kingdoms is one of the four great classical novels of Chinese literature, along with Journey to the West, The Story of the Stone, and The Water Margin. It dates from the mid-14th century CE, although some scholars would place it later, and it was supposedly written by Luo Guanzhong, a shadowy figure about whom little is known. It's not a romance in the sense of a love story, but in the older sense of a succession of thrilling events. It's set in the 2nd century CE, and it concerns the fall of China's 400-year-old Han Dynasty, resulting in three separate rival kingdoms, and their eventual reunification under the new Jin Dynasty, which is where the book ends. It's about war. That may sound like a depressing prospect, but the romance is actually the opposite, and that's largely down to the nobility of the central heroic characters. In the Western canon, its closest equivalent is probably Homer's Iliad, although the Iliad predates it by a good 2,000 years. Both texts concern an epic conflict between peoples of a similar culture. In Homer's case, the opposing forces worship the same gods, and both blend history, heroic legend, and supernatural intervention. But whereas the Iliad focuses on the fine detail of individual battles, the romance puts much greater emphasis on the intellectual aspects of war: military strategies, diplomatic manoeuvres, intelligence gathering, bluffs, attempts to second and third guess the enemy, knowledge of the terrain, supply lines, long-term planning, and the art of regrouping when things go wrong. For all its action and adventure, the romance is quite a cerebral book, and unlike the Iliad, it contains a lot of humour. In its abridged English version, it's over 600 pages long, and reading it is a bit of an adventure in itself. Things move quickly. In a modern story, when the characters make a plan, there's often a lot of detail. They try to put their plan into effect, and there's a long wait to see if it's successful. The romance hardly ever deploys that technique. It tells you what the characters intend to have happen, and then in the very next sentence it tells you whether or not their intentions were fulfilled. Across a long text, this makes the overall direction much less predictable, and arguably adds to the excitement. The story begins with a series of dire omens, followed by a rebellion by the emperor's eunuchs, then an oath by three heroes in a peach orchard to defend the Han Dynasty. The traitorous eunuchs are swiftly dispatched, but insurrection follows insurrection, and the heroes soon find themselves up against an evil warlord called Dong Zhuo, then an even stronger and more complex character called Cao Cao. Along the way, they enlist the help of a Taoist magician and master military strategist called Kong Ming. What makes the heroes heroic is partly their Confucian idealism, but also a deep concern for the sufferings of ordinary people. From the point of view of the modern reader, one of the downsides of the romance is that there are hardly any women. The most potentially interesting is Lady Sun, whom we learn in chapter 54 is a real warrior woman with hundreds of armed fighting women guards. However, she turns out to be a relatively incidental figure. There are several scenes of incredible pathos, such as the one in chapter 80, where after being under house arrest for much of the novel, the last Han Emperor is finally informed that his dynasty is at an end and he must abdicate. Although I have little talent, he sobs, what is it that I have done that is so wrong? The Penguin edition is very accessible. The introduction is informative and easy to read, and there's a map and a chronology and a list of main characters. It's divided into 120 chapters, each of which begins with a descriptive heading and ends with a cliffhanger. There's a sense in which all major literary works belong to the whole of humanity, if only because they speak to the whole of humanity. The Romance of the Three Kingdoms is no exception.